So, today we're going to dive into a text that's about 2,000 years old, from the Gospel of Luke. And what's just incredible is how it speaks so directly to us today. I mean, it tackles everything from our egos and our obsession with social status to generosity and what it really means to commit to something.
The whole thing kicks off at this really high-stakes, super awkward dinner party. And that sets up the big question for us. What can this ancient meal, with all its tension, possibly teach us about our own psychology, our social games, and, the choices we make every single day? Turns out, a whole lot. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start at that tense dinner, then we're going to decode what I'm calling a blueprint for humility. After that, we'll dig into a famous story about excuses, figure out the real cost of commitment, and then wrap it all up with a really powerful metaphor about salt. Let's jump in. Okay, so our story begins at the home of a big-shot religious leader. Jesus is invited as a guest, but let's be clear, this is not a friendly get-together. You can just feel it. This is a setup. The text literally says he was being carefully watched. I mean, can you imagine the tension in that room? Everybody is just staring, scrutinizing his every single move. And to dial up the pressure even more, a man who is obviously very sick is placed right there in front of him. This is a trap. It's a test. And what's so fascinating here is this total clash of priorities. On the one side, you have the Pharisees, and they're completely hung up on the rules. Is it lawful? Their whole world is about abstract principles. But then you have Jesus, and his focus is completely different. He's looking at the human need right in front of his face. From a nonviolent communication perspective, this is huge. It's a shift from a world of judgment and shoulds to one of simple observation and compassion. He sees a need, and he meets it. He just heals the man. So after that initial bombshell, Jesus turns his attention to the other guests. And what are they doing? They're all scrambling for the best seats at the table. Does that sound familiar? It's like the first century version of trying to get the best table at a restaurant or curating that perfect social media feed. And he uses this moment to give what's basically a masterclass in hacking our own egos. He tells this really simple story. He says, look, when you're invited to a party, don't just grab the best seat. You might get publicly embarrassed when someone more important shows up. Instead, do the opposite. Go find the lowest place, the worst seat in the house. Then, wait for the host to come find you and honor you in front of everyone. The real takeaway here is that genuine honor, that deep human need we all have for recognition, it's not something you can just take for yourself. It only really counts when it's given to you. And this quote just nails the core principle. It's a complete paradox, right? It turns our whole idea of success and status completely upside down. The way up, in this way of thinking, is actually down. It's this theme you see over and over. Real strength is found in this kind of radical humility. Then Jesus turns to the person who invited him and just flips the script on what it means to be a good host. On one side, you've got the normal way of doing things, the transactional model. You invite people who can invite you back. It's a social investment, right? It meets your need for security. But then he proposes this completely radical idea. Invite the people on the margins, the ones who could never repay you. This is about meeting their needs for dignity and inclusion with absolutely zero strings attached. Well, all this talk about banquets gets another guest to say something, which then tees up Jesus to tell one of his most famous parables. It's a story about a massive party and a whole bunch of really surprising no-shows. So all the people who were originally invited start making excuses. Now, instead of just judging them for being flaky, let's try looking at this through the lens of human needs. The first guy says he bought a field. Maybe that's about a need for security, for stability. The second one bought some oxen. That could be about his livelihood, his sense of purpose. And the third just got married. I mean, that's a clear need for connection and intimacy. The point is, they aren't just blowing off the host. They're choosing to meet other needs that are also really valid and important to them. And the host's reaction is, wow. He doesn't just cancel the party, he gets angry. And in NVC terms, that anger is a huge flare, a signal of a powerful unmet need, maybe for community or for his generosity to be valued. And then he does something absolutely radical. He tells his servant, forget the original list. Go out into the streets and bring in everyone who was normally left out. The party is still on, but the guest list is going to look a whole lot different than anyone expected. All right, now the whole scene shifts, and this is a really crucial turn. We're leaving the private dinner party. Jesus is now talking to a massive crowd of people, and the stakes get so much higher. The message goes from dinner party etiquette to the absolute core of what it means to be all in on something. And then he says this. I mean, this is an incredibly jarring statement.
Hate your family? Hate your own life? At first glance, it sounds completely monstrous, impossible. But hold on, because there's some really important context that we need to get here.
Okay, so this is the key. What we're dealing with here is a Semitic idiom. The word we read as hate doesn't mean what we think it means. It's not about emotional rage or dislike. It's a way of talking about comparison. It means to love less, or to prioritize something so radically, so completely, that everything else, even your most precious relationships, has to take a back seat. It's about having a singular, unwavering focus.
And to make this point really clear, he uses two quick, common-sense examples. First, the tower builder. I mean, who in their right mind would start building a huge tower without first sitting down and calculating if they have enough money to actually finish it? You'd be a laughingstock. The message is simple. Before you commit to something huge, you have to be honest about the cost.
The second story is pretty similar. If you're a king with 10,000 soldiers and you're about to face an army of 20,000, you don't just rush into battle. You sit down, you assess the situation, and you decide if you have any chance of winning or if you should just try to make peace. Again, it's all about strategic forethought. You have to understand what you're getting yourself into before you say yes.
And all of this, the humility, the crazy generosity, this intense cost of commitment, it all gets tied together in one final, unforgettable metaphor that really sums up the whole chapter.
Jesus says, salt is good. But if that salt loses its defining quality, its saltiness, what good is it? It's completely useless. You can't even use it for fertilizer. You just throw it out. It's a really stark, really challenging image.
And let's think for a second about what makes salt so special. It adds flavor, right? It turns something bland into something wonderful. It's a preservative. It stops things from decaying. And historically, it was a sign of incredible worth. So the question that he's really posing here, the one that lands right on our doorstep, is this. What is your essential quality? What is that unique, powerful contribution that only you can bring to the world?
And that brings the question right back to us, doesn't it? In the middle of our own lives, our own commitments, our own jockeying for the best seat, our own list of excuses, are we in danger of losing our fundamental purpose? Is our unique contribution, our saltiness, getting diluted?
And ultimately, that's the final challenge this ancient chapter leaves us with. It pushes us way beyond just a few moral lessons and straight into a really profound self-examination. When it's all said and done, what is your essential purpose? The very core of who you are meant to be. And maybe more importantly, are you living it?